Carmela twisted a damp tissue around and around in her lap. Every now and then she dabbed at her nose. "I can't hardly stand to face the day anymore," she said. "I couldn't even go to work today." "How come?" Toby said. I gave him a nudge with my knee, and we sat squeezed together between piles of junk on Camilla's couch. The window shades were drawn. Tiny sparkles of dust danced in a narrow beam of sunlight that slanted across the dark room. Carmela shook her head. "Gertie says she hasn't got that kind of money, but I know she does." "Why won't she give it to you?" I asked. "'Cause she's selfish, that's why." I watched a fly land on a greasy pizza box on the coffee table. "That's mean," I said. "She never did like dogs." Carmela blew her nose and waved her hand at the fly. "What are you going to do?" I said. Carmela flapped back against the pillow tucked behind her in the chair. She propped her feet up on a ripped vinyl footstool and rested her hands on her stomach, and then she closed her eyes and made weird little moaning noises. Toby twirled his finger around his ear, making a sign like Carmela was crazy. I frowned at him and shook my head. "What are you going to do?" I repeated a little louder. Carmela shook her head, making her ripply chin look jiggle like jello. "I just want to die," she said. Toby clamped his hand over his mouth like he was trying to stifle a laugh, but I didn't see what was so funny. "You can't die," I said. "Willie needs you." Carmela's eyes popped open. She sat straight up and slapped her knee. "You're right," she said. "Willie does need me." I grinned. "So, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to put those signs up, that's what I'm going to do," she said. "The reward signs?" Toby said. She nodded. "Yep. But what about the money?" I said. "Where are you going to get the money?" "I'll just be like Scarlett O'Hara," Carmela said. "Who's that?" Toby said. "You know, from Gone with the Wind." I guess me and Toby looked confused, because she went on to explain about Scarlett O'Hara, about how she was this lady in a movie who said fiddly-dee-dee and who worried about things tomorrow instead of today. And then Carmela pushed herself up out of her chair and shuffled over to the rickety card table. "Will y'all help me, please, put these signs up?" She waved a stack of papers at us. "I made copies with Willie's picture." She smiled down at the signs in her hands. Toby looked at me, and when I said sure, he said sure. Carmela gave us a little box of tacks and then grabbed her purse and car keys. "Come on," she said. "Let's go." Carmela drove, and me and Toby jumped out of every corner to tack up a sign. Toby was scared Mama was going to see us when we got near the coffee shop, but I told him to hush up and stop worrying. Of course, I knew he was right. She might see us, but I had so many other things weighing me down that I didn't have room in my worried mind for Mama. With every sign I put up, that question that I'd been trying to push away kept popping back up. The question was this: what in the world are you doing, Georgina? By the time we were done, it seemed like there wasn't one street in Darby that didn't have a sign tacked up somewhere. On nearly every corner, Willie's face gazed out at the world with his head cocked in this adorable way. It like to broke my heart to look at it. "I feel better already," Carmela said when we turned onto Whitmore Road and into her driveway. "I have this feeling in my bones that my little Willie is going to be coming home any minute now." "But what about the money?" I said. Carmela flapped her hand at me. "Oh, fiddly-dee-dee-dee," she said. "I'll worry about that tomorrow." When Mama got off work that night, she drove us over to the Pizza Hut and told us to go in and wash up. And then we sat in the parking lot and ate corned beef sandwiches and dill pickles. Mama seemed real happy and excited, going on and on about how she's making all kinds of money. She showed me and Toby an envelope stuffed with dollar bills. "I'm stashing this under the spare tire in the trunk," she said, "but it's just for emergencies, okay?" "Is that enough to pay for an apartment?" I said, pulling the fat off my corned beef and tucking it into the napkin for Willie. "Not quite," she said, "but it won't be long now." "How long?" I popped a piece of chewing gum in my mouth. "Not long," Mama said. "How long?" "Not long," Mama said in a mean voice. Yeah, right. I rolled my eyes and pulled chewing gum in and out in a long, stretchy string out of my mouth. Mama whipped around to face me, and I stuck my chin up and looked at her square in the eye, twirling my gum around like a jump rope. She turned back around and slumped low in the front seat. Toby licked his fingers in smacking sounds and said, "Maybe me and Georgina can get some money." I liked to swallow my gum when he said that. Mama looked at him and smiled that real sweet smile like she always seems to have for him, but never for me. "Now, how in the world would you and Georgina get money, sweetheart?" she said. Here it comes, I thought. I knew Toby was going to mess up sooner or later. I braced myself for what was going to come next, waiting for Toby to tell Mama about Willie and Carmela and all. I tried to give him the evil eye, but he wouldn't even look at me. I don't know, he said. Maybe we could just find some, Mama chuckled. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, Toby, I said, be sure to let us know when you find $1 million on the sidewalk, okay? Mama shot me a look, but Toby grinned and said, okay. We finished up our supper, and then Mama drove around looking for a place to park that night. The car was chugging and rattling and jerking like crazy, but she acted like she didn't even notice. As we pulled into the parking lot of the Motel 6, I spotted one of Carmela's signs, and suddenly that greasy corned beef in my stomach didn't set too well. I lay down on the seat and curled into a ball, and then I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. Later on, after Mama and Toby had fallen asleep, I pulled out my How to Steal a Dog notes, and I read through every page, and when I got to the part that said, you will have to wait and see what happens next, I got out my colored pencils and drew little flowers and hearts all around the edge of the page, and then I used a sky blue pencil to write again, you will have to wait and see what happens next. I looked out the window at the Motel 6. Inside the lobby, a man was watching TV and sipping coffee from a mug. A soda machine outside the door sent a flickering red glow across the parking lot. I wished we could have gotten a room there just for one night. We could stretch out on a real bed, take a bath in a real tub, and act like real people. We didn't have school tomorrow, so we could spend all day watching TV and stuff. But Mama said no. I looked over at Toby curled up in the back seat with his head propped up against the door. I hadn't told him about Mookie yet. I knew he'd get all scared and worried, and he'd say we weren't supposed to talk to strangers and Mama would kill us and stuff like that. And I guessed he would be right, but what choice did we have? We couldn't just forget about Willie, could we? We had to feed him and take care of him. Besides, Mookie was probably gone by now. Toby wouldn't ever even know he'd been there. I closed my notebook and stuffed it back down inside my bag, and then I lay down on the car seat and closed my eyes. No sense worrying about Mookie tonight, was there? I could worry about him tomorrow.